Welcome to the first of two training videos for TII's Carbon tool. The aim of this video is to provide an overview of the tool. The agenda for this short presentation will include an overview of the tool, its scope, when to use it, as well as the reporting boundaries that were used when the tool was set up, how to find additional guidance and how to link the tool to climate guidance produced by TII, and finally using the tool. The second training video will demonstrate how to use the tool itself. I will now provide an overview of the tool. TII's Carbon tool has been designed to allow TII and its contractors to comply with the greenhouse gas reporting requirements as set out in the revised Environmental Impact Assessment Directive, now transposed into Irish law. Where an EIA is not required, but an individual standalone assessment of greenhouse gas carbon footprint is, then the TII Carbon tool should still be used. The tool is primarily designed for climate practitioners for the purpose of EIA reporting. However, it can still be used by project designers, project engineers, and contractors in the early design and project process for new road, light rail, and greenway projects. A standalone guidance document has been developed to read alongside the Carbon tool. There is also guidance within the tool for users. The tool is aligned to integrate with the existing planning and design cycle for road, light rail, and greenway projects. The outputs from the tool will allow TII and its contractors to compare and evaluate the life cycle carbon impacts of multiple design options for any given road, light rail, or greenway project. Now let's move on to the scope of the Carbon tool. The tool has been designed to align with TII's project phases from an initial outline design and option selection through to detailed design and final implementation. Multiple project designs and a business as usual baseline, which assumes the project has not been built, can also be modelled. The tool does have some flexibility in its inputs and outputs. At an early stage of the scheme, with limited information available, carbon impacts can still be modelled. And then, compared to a later stage, which is when hopefully the user may have more information available to input. While the tool has embedded emission factor database, it is also possible for users to add their own from environmental product declarations as they become available. The tool has also been designed to capture carbon mitigation measures, so as the scheme progresses through different life cycle and design stages, more mitigation is implemented into the scheme and can be recorded in the tool. Lastly, once all the data has been inputted into the tool, it is possible for a range of outputs to be produced, such as graphs. These can then support the delivery of reports or presentations. When to use the Carbon tool. The tool should be used when assessing construction carbon emissions as part of an environmental impact assessment for a road, light rail, or greenway scheme. If you need to model the user emissions, this should be completed into the REM tool, also available from TII's website. The earliest point the tool will be used for a road scheme is likely to be Phase 2, option selection, where multiple options can be assessed based on the outlined data. And as previously stated, there may be limited data at this stage, but the tool still allows for comparison over a number of options at an early stage. At Phase 3, it is anticipated that much more comprehensive data and information will be available on a single chosen option, with a more complete bill of quantities and other information regarding construction. This can then be used to complete a more detailed idea of the carbon footprint of a single option. Where a TII project does not trigger an EIA, but a greenhouse gas assessment is still required, then the tool should still be used. Practitioners should use a new version of the tool at each stage of the design process, where the outputs from the previous design phase should be used as the starting point. Reporting boundaries. tool has been designed to align with the boundaries of those presented in PAS 2080, which provides good practice for lifecycle carbon quantification in infrastructure projects. PAS 2080 was published in 2016 by those mentioned on the slide. It specifies requirements and provides guidance for the management of carbon in infrastructure, whether that is for new infrastructure assets and/or the refurbishment of existing. The diagram shown demonstrates how PAS 2080 breaks down carbon emissions across life cycle of a scheme into different modules. First is pre-construction, also referred to as Module A0, followed by the product stage, Modules A1 to A3. This includes emissions from embodied carbon in materials, transportation of materials to site, and manufacturing. Modules A4 to A5 reflect the construction process stage, which includes transport and construction activities associated with this life cycle stage. The use stage covers B1 to B8. This is where the actual use of the scheme itself is reflected. The carbon tool allows for the impact of emissions associated with maintenance, grid emissions due to lighting, and other energy use. It does not include the actual calculation of road user emissions. As mentioned, this should come from the Road Emissions Model, REM, tool, and then used in the carbon tool. The end of life stage covers modules C1 to C4. For the majority of schemes, this won't be included as roads do not usually need to assess end of life stage, such as deconstruction. As previously mentioned, depending on the phase of a scheme, this will reflect the data available to undertake the carbon assessment. At phase 1 and 2, it is likely that there is limited data available. There may only be key material quantities, which is sufficient to undertake an assessment to allow for the comparison of different options. Once the chosen scheme has been identified following phase 2, this is then modelled at phase 3, where a more detailed carbon assessment can be undertaken as more information should be available. Accessing and using the carbon tool. To access the tool, please contact Climate Tools at TII.ie to request access to the tool. It is free and accessible to anyone who requests access. The user guidance and presentation video should also be used in conjunction with the documents displayed on the slide. Please now see the second presentation, which provides a demonstration of how to use the tool itself.